Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this review, we're going to be taking a look at Paper Mario, the Origami King for the Nintendo Switch. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage, I'll have a link down in the description down below, or you can click on the card that will appear up on this YouTube video, though. When it comes to the Paper Mario series, it has some of its sort of hits and misses, though. The high points really for the series has been Paper Mario the Thousand Year Doors on the Nintendo GameCube, which is considered by many to be sort of a classic. Not to mention, you hear a lot of people calling for that game to be like remastered or be ported over to the Nintendo Switch. But the series has also hit its lows, at least depending on who you ask, and that normally has to do with games like the 3DS, Paper Mario Six Star Saga, and Color Splash. And I mean, some people are not a big fan of Super Paper Mario, but I enjoyed that one, though. And while those two aren't liked by a lot of people, there are those who do like it. I thought it wasn't bad, but there were certain things I wasn't really a big fan of, to be exact, though. But they weren't as terrible as some people like it to make it has made it out to be. So now Nintendo releases us a brand new entry into it, and that is basically the Origami King, though. And while it may not live up to being as good as, say, Paper Mario A Thousand Years Doors is, though, I will say, to me, I am having fun with the Origami King, and some people may look at it as probably the second best entry in the Paper Mario series, although some people will have different views on that. So why don't we get started with the pros and cons, and we'll start off first with the pros. And the first one has to do with the story and all that stuff. Basically, you are fighting to basically save the Mushroom Kingdom from the basically from King Aulx, if I'm saying the name correctly, the leader of the Origamis, who has pretty much folded mostly of Bowser's minions and some of the other enemies into origamis and all that stuff. The story pretty much follows basically what you've seen in other Mario RPGs or other Paper Mario entries, though. It's silly, but also good at the same time. But what I find very interesting about the story this time around is that it's kind of dark and all, which is, to me, though, at least from my view, though, that's kind of surprising, considering to see that in a Paper Mario series, let alone a Mario game itself. Basically, a dark story and all that stuff. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, and I don't think it is necessarily a bad thing. It's just kind of surprising to see that in a Paper Mario or in a Mario game in general. But nevertheless, even though the story can also get dark at sometimes, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it adds a little bit to the story. So while story isn't really going to blow you away, it's still enjoyable, and it also has its silly and funny moments at the same time. Next thing I want to talk about is the visuals and the music, and I will say the visuals look good and all that stuff. Basically, you have your enemies that look like the origamis and all that stuff, and areas that look like, handcrafted and artworks, handcrafted stuff, and that certainly definitely adds to that charm, though. So the art style in the game is really nice, and the music definitely is good too. It's depending on which area of the world you're in, it just fits the tone perfectly. So visually, the game looks nice. I like the art craft look to it, though, and the music is good. And last but not least, I do want to talk about the combat, which I'll get to the cons and the combat part in just a second, but I do want to talk about the positive part of the combat. Now, the combat in Paper Mario, the Origami King, for the most part, follows the tried and true formula that has been used in other Mario RPGs, though. Basically, the enemies are, you basically confront the enemies on the screen. There's not unlike classic RPGs where there are like random battles and all that stuff. Or recent ones like Octopath Traveler could be a good example of that, though. If you basically hit the enemies first before they hit you, you could start the battle with doing damage to them and all. When you hit the jump button, you time it right, you could do more damage to the enemy. Hit the A button at the right time when holding back the hammer, and you could do a whole lot of definitely do a lot of damage. So it follows some of the formula that you see in other Mario RPGs, but what makes this one also interesting is that they use, basically, it's a ring battle. Basically what you do is before you start the battle, you have to sort of line up the enemies though. You could do it either like in a straight line, or basically do it like 1, 2, 3, 4. And you basically do it by either rotating the circle or pulling some enemies forward or back depending on where they are positioned though. So it adds a bit of a puzzle element to the approach, and it's in very, I would say, interesting ideas. And while there are some moments in the battle where it can be difficult to line up some of the enemies, though there are times when it's basically not as bad. So when it comes to fighting some of the enemies in the majority of the enemies in the game, the ring battle basically works. So I will applaud Nintendo for offering something new, especially with the whole ring battle setup. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, which are the cons. So we'll take a little break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our video review of Paper Mario, the Origami King for the Nintendo Switch. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And there are really only 2 cons though. We'll start off with the first one, and that has to do with the combat. Now, I mentioned in the pros though that the combat follows, the tire and true formula, at least the way I see it, from any of the Mario RPGs. And the ring battle approach, I will say, is something unique and new, and I certainly don't entirely hate it though. But there are times when the combat can also be frustrated, and this to me is probably the biggest con that I could think of. When fighting some of the minions or the smaller enemies, it's not as bad, but when fighting the boss battles, there were times when I had struggled with this. This is because of the way it's set up, because you have to sort of move Mario on the ring battle board and have him hit certain arrows and all that stuff. And if there's not an arrow or an item, like maybe increase, like be able to attack or anything like that, he'll trip and you won't be able to attack the enemy and all that stuff. There are times when that could be a bit frustrated, especially when fighting certain bosses and all, and there were times when I kind of struggled with this. I was able to overcome some of the boss battles, but they were kind of tough, and it ate through like my 1-up mushrooms, or at least we get one 1-up mushroom in case you die and all that stuff to bring Mario back to life. But the boss battles are using the whole ring system can make things a bit frustrated at times, and it can make battles can be a little bit difficult and all. Again, it doesn't make them impossible. It doesn't make the game unplayable. It's just there are times when it can be frustrated, and I can see why some people would like Nintendo to bring back, the classic, experience points, the kind of battle system we saw in Paper Mario: 1,000-Year Door. Even though they say that they like to innovate and all that stuff, although they kind of backtrack saying that they're listening to fans and all that stuff. But yes, the ring battle and all, it's an interesting idea. It can be fun, but it can also be kind of frustrated at the same time. And last but not least though, while not a huge con, it is still annoying though, and that is the fact that there's really only one save file in this game. There's like no other save files or anything like that, unless you, and from what I understand, if I'm reading this correctly, is that you have to basically create a new username on your Nintendo Switch in order to create a new save file in Paper Mario: The Origami King. And I have to say is, really, Nintendo? Really? You can't basically create multiple save files and all that stuff? It seems a bit odd and strange for Nintendo to be doing this. So it's just weird that there's only one save file in Paper Mario: The Origami King. Overall, I will say I am having fun with Paper Mario: The Origami King. The game is definitely, while maybe not living up to the 1,000-Year Door, I will say it is probably, in my view, the second best entry in the Paper Mario series. The story is still silly but good, and dark, which I still think is pretty surprising to see in a Paper Mario game. The visuals and the music are definitely good as well. The music, really like the music in the game, and I like the paper look for the characters, the whole arts and craft look of it though. And the combat, while follows the tired and true formula that is often seen in a lot of the Mario RPGs, I will applaud Nintendo for coming up with something new with the ring battle approach to Paper Mario. And sometimes it's fun, sometimes it works, and it works though, but there are times at the same times when it can also be very frustrated, especially during some of the boss battles. And there were times when I kind of struggled a little bit with it though. And it does, and not to mention, I feel like there are times why can't Nintendo bring back, the experience points, the classic RPG kind of approach though. And yes, having one save file is sort of annoying, but putting that aside, while the ring battle I feel can be frustrated, it doesn't stop me from playing and enjoying the game. So overall, I definitely enjoy Paper Mario: The Origami King. I think it's the second best entry in the Paper Mario series. It's not going to overtake 1,000-Year Door, but nevertheless though, it's still good. Here's to hoping we see more entry in the Paper Mario series, and here's to hoping that maybe Nintendo will bring over, say, a remaster or a remake or a new entry in the Mario and Luigi RPGs. I would like to see that series comes to Nintendo Switch. And here's to hoping that, assuming these rumors are true, that an actual sequel to Super Mario RPG Legends of the Seventh Star is actually in the works though. I would definitely love to see that happen, Nintendo. Then again, there are a lot of Nintendo fans that would love to see that happen too. Okay, this concludes this video review of Paper Mario: The Origami King. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Paper Mario: The Origami King, though? Do you think Paper Mario: The Origami King is a good entry in the Paper Mario series? Do you think it's the second best entry, or do you think it's the worst best entry? Do you think it's as close to 1,000-Year Door, or do you think it's nowhere nearly as good as Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door, though? Do you like the story? Do you think the story is kind of darker than what you would see in a Mario game in general? What about the combat? Are you okay with the whole ring battle thing? Do you think it's as annoying as some people have made it out to be, or do you don't think it's as bad as some people have made it out to be? Or do you think it's frustrated? Are there times when you struggled with the whole ring battle system at all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!